Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daily News. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. As always, you can find us on social media. What are you on social media, Mike Daly?
Daily News 8. Daily News 8.
Daily News 8
Give
is
me
where
a
you can
follow,
find them.
DM if you want, whatever. Always
DMs
answer.
are
Yeah.
open. Amazing.
Open.
I got a DM from a guy the other day telling me that we needed him on our podcast because he'll give us the real insight on football. It's worth a shot, maybe.
Sounds legit.
Yeah, we'll get him on here. If you say DMs are open, you're going to end up with more of that than you realize. You can check out Fox 40 gear products to make your combine run smoothly. Shop whistles, stopwatches, ball pumps, and more at fox40shop.com. Use the code CFP15 at checkout for 15% off of your order. The next episode next week on Combine Saturday is going to be Mike and myself breaking down for you all things around the CFL Combine. Today, though, Mike, we have a very special guest, don't we?
I'm excited. Longtime teammate of mine, and everybody knows his name in the CFL. But we have Brandon Banks coming on, and I couldn't be more excited. He's such a good dude. I've recently been 2 lockers down from him, so we're always chopping it up. And to have such a guy that, like I said, his name all around the CFL, the stuff he's done, everybody knows about him. To have him on and, just come chat with us for a little bit. It's awesome. And, we dive into a little bit about what happened recently and then his long past. And it was fun. It's fun.
Yeah, he is a good conversation. He was always one in the locker room. I know from a media perspective, I enjoyed being able to go over and have honest conversations with him, and he is very much the same now that he is a Toronto Argonaut. Let's get to it. Here is Brandon Banks in conversation with us on CFP right here on The Daily Show.
Speedy, what's going on, man? I haven't seen you in a bit. We're in the off season now, so how you feeling? Body's feeling good?
I'm feeling great, man. Thanks for having me, first of all. I mean, it's dope what you're doing, reaching back out. First of all, you're one of my closest friends in the locker room, 2 lockers over, really. Just appreciate you having me. But, man, I'm feeling great, man. Obviously, it's weird times right now for me. But to be honest, man, this offseason has been totally different for me. I'm putting my body through like a college offseason, similar sort of take, because obviously, the injuries that I battled with last season, I wasn't healing fast enough, like I usually did in the previous years. So just trying to put some muscle on myself and, get myself stronger.
Well, hey, I'll introduce you just because, I feel like I got to introduce you, but I'm sure everybody knows who you are. But I mean, you're going into your 12th year now of pro football?
Yeah, 12th year, yep.
That's I mean, when you've been through it as long as you and I have, I mean, seeing somebody hit 12 years, the only people I can think of that, I've had any personal connection with is you and Van Zyl. And I mean, at that point, you guys are practically grandpas out here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it's a blessing to still be able to play the game at this high level and be able to actually compete. But obviously, I think I just had a special skill set. Obviously, for a very long time, I was blessed with the speed, obviously, and obviously got me to 12 years. And hopefully, I can, try to get that little bit of that speed get back to myself, so I can make 13 years.
Well, and that's what's crazy, and kind of the whole reason I reached out to you first is because I mean, we've been together since Jarvis being down in the basement. You know what I mean? Right. Working out in a closet and all that kind of stuff. But like, so last year was probably your toughest year in terms of injuries, I'd imagine, right? Like just what you had to go through. And, personally seeing you at practice, like, you were playing, but you weren't all like, it hurt, you know what I mean? Right. Your body was hurting and you could tell in practice, you could tell. What was that like going through a season? Cause I mean, usually when you get some injury like that, you're either out or you're good and you're 100%, you're feeling good, you're out there, right? Like you were kind of playing hurt that whole season. What's that like, first of all, physically, and then second of all, being who you are and kind of having the career you've had up to that point and just having to play through this, kind of this pain that's always there.
Right. I'll be totally honest with you, man. It was tough, man. I battled a lot this year. This year was the toughest year I ever had since being in Canada, even mentally, you know what I mean? Because obviously, you know what kind of competitor I am and how much I want to be out in the field and how much I just wanted to win a championship for the city of Hamilton and for guys like me and yourself. It was tough, man. It was tough, but obviously the competitor I am, I just got to be on the field. I tried so hard just to, fight through it and just whatever happens, happen. And obviously it got to a point where I realized what my role was. Obviously we had some guys on the wide receiver end that was playing some good football. So I realized what my role was, and I just tried to settle in as best as I could and just try to, get through the season. I just thought I thought I was going to have like a breakout game any given moment, to be back to myself. But obviously I just had to accept the role, of who I was, and just I think I did that very well at going into the playoffs. And I felt like going into the playoffs, I ended up playing some good ball. Obviously feeling the way I felt, but obviously, this year was the toughest year for me ever in Canada.
Man, I thought that was the BC game. Like when I was calling that BC Hamilton game, Speedy, and you scored that touchdown in the corner route, I'm like, well, shit, he's back. I'm like, this is it. I'm like, because I got that sense that the wheels were turning. You were in more important positions. You were being like primary routes, and it was like, yeah, Tim was balling out, Dunbar was balling out, doing his thing. Like when Braylon was healthy, it was crazy how productive he was. But yeah, I was with you on that, man. When you guys got going into the playoffs, I'm just like, okay, this is actually a blessing in disguise. Yeah, it's been a bad year. It's been a tough year for you in a lot of different ways. But I thought, man, if you get Speedy fresh going through the playoffs, like, what else could you possibly want as an offense? So I was with you. I thought that that's where you were headed.
Right. I was trying hard as I can, but obviously, I think to be honest, especially in the Eastern Final, I was feeling good. Obviously, in the Grey Cup, I was feeling good. It was just the way that the cookie crumbled, and the road that was settled in, what kind of offense we was going into, them situations and them games. But yeah, that was a tough season for me.
And you know what? It's funny you say that, because I've always thought this while playing. Like, you started talking about roles, and I think, like, what kind of role does a coaching play in all of this, right? Because I mean, if you even look back, we're talking about Kent up to with Tommy, and then all of a sudden June comes in, right? And you go from being this all-star returner to now being like what we kind of knew you were. You know what I mean? Right. Like, look, he's blown, but why is we not having him out here running by people, breaking people down? Why is he not doing this? And you start talking about roles. So June steps in, but it's kind of like you always had that. It's just, is it an opportunity? Is it a coaching thing? Is it, what does that look like for, a player of your own caliber, having a different coach step in, but kind of knowing what you can do?
Like you said, I always knew what I can do. I mean, take it back to my college days. I had 1,000 yards junior year. I was ranked in the Big 12 at wide receiver. I always knew what I can do. Like you said, I think it was just opportunity. But also I knew what my strengths was. Obviously in the pro league, when you try to go to the pros, you try to fit in where you can get in. So I knew my strengths was punt returning and kick returning, right? So I just accepted that role. And then, the punt returning and kick returning game in Canada is a whole nother part of the football game that I excel in that. So I kind of settled in that role and accepted that without really realizing how much of an impact I really could have made on offense early. So I just accepted the role that I needed to make some kind of impact on special teams. But it was fun at the same time. Obviously, us going to the Grey Cups and the Eastern Final versus Montreal. But then obviously when June came, it was like Santa Claus came down the chimney for me. I just had the right opportunity. Like you said, I just got opportunity. And when you got I think a skill set guy like myself, and when you give him more opportunity, 10 to 15 opportunities a game, obviously you're going to put some stats and some points on the board.
I got two quick follow-ups on that one for you, Speedy. The first one is there any part of you that feels like there were wasted years, knowing what you could be, knowing what you were at K-State, knowing what you became when June was there? When you look back at it now, do you look at it as, oh, there were wasted years, I could have helped this team so much more if I were put in better situations? Or, hey, that was the role and I was just given that and I accepted it?
No, I really believe things happen for a reason. But if you could look back and back in the picture, I think I still made a huge impact on special teams in some way. Obviously, as a competitor, I think, yes, I can go out there, could have caught 6 or 7 balls a game. But in hindsight, I think I pretty, made that role that I was put in. I think I, took advantage of the opportunities as much as I could and made it a big impact as much as I could. I wouldn't say I wasted years, because I still think I put up some big numbers during them years, and obviously, you know, the numbers tell for itself. But I wouldn't say I wasted years.
And the other one I have for you, for people that don't understand like June and his system and all the rest, I just want you to explain it to people like they're a third grader. Why when June Jones came to Hamilton, did Brandon Banks become the Brandon Banks that he was in 2018? Like, simplify that as much as you possibly can of what you were doing in the offense.
Man, to be honest, June's offense is the way I look at it is if you're covered, you're wrong. You did the wrong route. So he pretty much gave you 3 or 4 options to go, right? So obviously that made me excited and made me excel as a player. I think I'm a pretty smart football player. I don't think a lot of people notice how I really study football, and once I got that offense in with June, it was just so easy for me to get open. And obviously, I'm a space player. When I get the ball, you know, in my hands, and that opportunity, I made the best of it. So I just like I said with Daly question, it was just opportunity and space that I had once June came in. He just gave me the opportunity and the space to, you know, make plays.
Daly, I'm just imagining Speedy sitting in the meeting room, getting like that opening pamphlet and seeing all the option routes and just going, sheesh.
Wait, I can run a dig or a post or a go or, you know.
Like, and with every page that he flipped going, oh my God.
Man,
well, and a follow-up with that is I remember in training camp that year, we were sitting there and we were like, in our own defensive meetings, we'd sit there and be like, okay, listen, if you got a couple people like Speedy on you, we know they got some options, because at this point we kind of seen June's offense. So we're like, okay, just open your hips, show that you're playing deep, make them run a dig, and then we'll rally. We'll tag them off at about 12 yards. And that's honestly what it was. And it was incredible, because it was definitely like an eye-opening thing, because it's like, yeah, and like you said before, you know, I mean, you made a huge impact on special teams, and it changed the game. And honestly, you know, as good as you were on special teams, that's one of those things, especially with Jeff back there, you know, coordinating the special teams. He's like, well, I need Speedy to return every ball, because we're going to pop one into the end zone. Or if you're talking Montreal playoff, a couple of them, you know what I mean? We're going to put a couple of those things in the end zone. So I need him to be fresh to be back there. And that's a big thing. Like, do you think at some point could you have, because I know, you know, this past year we were looking to play you in at receiver and at returner at the same time. What kind of impact is that over like you know, play count of a game? How tiring does that get if you had to return every ball, but then also get out there and run every route on the offense? What is that? Can you be as effective doing that? What's that look like?
I believe 4 or 5 years ago I could have did it really effectively. Now it's gonna be tough, right? Because I'm a little older, right? It's gonna be tough. It's tough, man. I mean, especially like, man, it's just imagine running a punt return for 25, 30 yards, and then you gotta go do a waggle and run a corner route or a post route for 40, 50 yards down the field. I mean, it's tough, obviously, man. And then you got the waggle, you got to run back. And then if it's an incomplete ball, you got to run back to the huddle. So it's tough now. But I think early in my years, I definitely could have did. I think Kent years, I definitely could have managed it. If I was aware that I had to do it, I would have put myself in those situations and had myself prepared to do that. I think I could have.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, right? Is I feel, you know, and we were talking about the whole injury years and then before that. But, I mean, when you look back on your career, like, you haven't really missed that many games. You know what I mean? And people are going to look at it. A lot of
people keep saying I was injury prone. It was just the actual injuries that I had was free accidents. Remember, I broke my collarbone the one year. And then this year, that was pretty much it.
And you still played, what, 10 out of, we had, 14 games this year?
Right.
And you still played, I mean, you've avoided, and, you know, people are going to sit there and go, oh, you know, he's not very big, he's going to get hurt all the time. But I would tell people all the time when they'd ask me about you, like, you just have this knack of being able to, like, the thing I look back on is when Solomon tried to tackle you at home. And you ducked, I think you ducked TJ Lee and then you ducked him, and everyone's trying to kill you. And you just have this knack of not getting hit hard and making people miss. And that's what people don't understand. You're not really getting hurt out there every season.
Right. I was talking to one of my friends not too long ago. I was telling him about the season, and we was talking about injuries and getting my body back right. And I was letting him know, I was like, man, to be honest, this year, that hit I took for Toronto was the hardest I ever been hit in my football career.
I remember you saying that.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember you saying that too.
Right.
And just the anything in your midsection, that thing's gonna affect you. I don't care who you are, that thing affects you.
And I wasn't expecting him to be there. Like, it hurt worse when you're not expecting. When you see somebody coming to hit you, you kind of prepare yourself for it, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't know he was there at all, but it is what it is.
Well, let's bounce off the injury thing, because I think it's going to be the same story for you, where you're just going to make it through a whole season. You're going to light it up again. I really don't think that it's going to change much for you. But what I do want to talk about is what you probably are better at than football is just hammering people on social media. Man, because I'll tell you what, I remember at Marshall, it was probably halfway through the season. I come in there and I look at Speedy and he's laughing and he goes, "Man, every one of my tweets turns into a complete breakdown on either whatever social media account that's covering the CFL." He's like, "I can get a whole article posted on one of my tweets." And that's probably my favorite thing to do is roll through when you're on a little heater. Right. Taking people on, that's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, I want to say one thing. I don't even be mad though. I honestly I like the back and forth and like to see people's opinions, and I like to voice my opinions as well. To be honest, they never affect me because I know they're not gonna say it in my face or my day. Nothing's gonna affect my day about it. But I love to interact with others and see others' opinions, and then obviously I'm strong. You know how I feel about my opinions. I'm strong about. I'm very, very opinionated. But I really don't be mad at nobody. And then I'm gonna fight for my team. Whoever I'm riding for. If you're on my team, I'm gonna have your back no matter what. So that's just how I am. That's what kind of guy I am. But me, I just love to interact on Twitter.
The thing I've enjoyed this offseason,
thing, right?
Yeah, I was going to say the thing that I've enjoyed this offseason is the idea that you go from black and gold to double blue. And all the people that used to hate you and kill you, all of a sudden they love you. And all the people in Hamilton, they're like, we should hate you,
right?
But we don't. They're like they find it incapable of themselves to hate you for being an Argonaut, and I love that because you threw such a wrench into this rivalry with switching and going down the road to the point where like people want to be so angry at you, and you know what? You might get it on game day, you might get it Labor Day or whatever. Like I know you're probably expecting that. But the idea that you have endeared yourself so much to the Hamilton fan base over the years with your effort and with your moments that are memorable to people, that they just want to hate you and they can't find the ability to do it, even on social media. Do you have any idea how rare that is, Speedy?
I do kind of somewhat. I just want them to know that. I love Hamilton. Hamilton is everything. Hamilton is what made me and it made me the man I am today. It's just. Obviously, it's a business, and at the end of the day, obviously, when I retire, obviously I'm gonna retire a tie cat, right? But it's just a business. But at the end of the day, it's fun. I just want the fans to understand it's a game at the end of the day, and I still love them no matter what. And I understand, obviously, if you're a fan of a team and somebody leave them, obviously you're gonna feel a type of way, right? But I think over the time, they'll probably get over it. But obviously, during the games and during the Labor Days and things like that, I'm definitely gonna expect the boos or whatever. It's all good though. I understand them though. I'll be mad too.
Yeah, no kidding. And that's kind of the coolest thing is how you do interact with everybody, right? Because we talk about it all the time. That's the coolest part of the CFL is that it's just constant interaction with the fans. But jump into the whole going to the Toronto now and then everything that ended up happening, right? Like I'm sure you were kind of expecting to be back in Hamilton, I'd imagine, or you weren't sure how that was going to pan out. But, kind of give me your mentality once you kind of realize, like, okay, maybe I won't be back in Hamilton this year. Like, what was that like?
Just because you're my brother, I'll be completely honest with you. I knew going into the playoffs. It was the thing that I possibly wasn't going to come back. Like I said, I kind of knew. I wouldn't say exactly what happened, but I kind of knew. But obviously, still trying to be a professional. And that, like I said, at the end of the day, we had a great shot at winning the Grey Cup. So I wasn't worrying about what was going on next year. But at the end of the year, at the last when we lost in the Grey Cup, I kind of knew. And then obviously, I had them conversations with Coach O and Scott and and it went pretty well, and we both agreed. We both felt say how we felt, and I honestly didn't want to be the vet to hold up an organization when the organization is trying to move forward and get younger and things like that, right? So I kind of understood at the same time. So it was the timing, the right time.
And that's kind of, that's once you've been around long enough, like you have, you kind of see it happen year in and year out. And you kind of understand that, okay, you know what, this is still a business. And there can still be this mutual respect between, whether it's Coach O, whether it's Scott, right? It's the same thing that's happened with me, right? There's this mutual respect. You love these people because they gave you so much. Right. But it's also like, it's just kind of like, damn, you know what I mean?
Right.
But so then give me your mindset. Like, was this your first time going into free agency?
Yes.
So what is that process like for people that don't really know how wild it is and how fast it happens?
To be honest, I was foreign to the situation as well. I didn't know how it happened because obviously every year I was upcoming to be a free agent. Obviously, I was the priority to be re-signed back to Hamilton, right? But this is my first time too. So when we released everything to, because you remember I was released before free agency started. So when I talked to Hamilton, they wanted me to, obviously shop myself. They wanted me to give me time to shop myself before free agency. But man, it was weird to have people calling your phone and ask you questions and like y'all don't already know me. Y'all don't know what I can do. But it was just weird also, and then it felt good to feel wanted at the same time, right? But obviously because of what I've done over time. So it felt good to hear different voices of, people from outside of the league. The other side of the league. I've been in Hamilton so long, I never talked to other people from other teams and front offices and hear things, from the other side was pretty cool, to be honest.
And that's the craziest part about, when you see players re-sign before the free agency period happens. It's a pretty simple process, right? Like, for us, it's talking with Berkey, and it's like, okay, we kind of understand where we're all around. It's just jumping up and down a little bit of money here and there, how it's structured, right? But I could imagine once you start hitting free agency and start talking to those coaches, you start to think of, what the league truly thinks of you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And clearly with the amount of phone calls you're getting, it's kind of, from a time where you're like, damn, you know what I mean? Moving on now to all of a sudden.
And to piggyback on that, I got a call from a team that told me that they knew for a fact that I wasn't coming there. They just wanted to let me know that the doors was open, even if anything. And I was like, that was just respect, right? It was just, I was like, dang, I never knew that. Like, I really had to sit back and realize what I've done over the time and, what I've meant to the league. And I definitely love that and appreciate that. And that's why I'm definitely coming back for another year.
I can't believe the Atlantic Schooners spoke to you like that, man. Like they call Speedy just to say, hey, we know you're not coming, but thanks for the opportunity. But what were some of the teams that had interest in you, though? Can you say, like, who might have dabbled with you before you decide, you know what, Toronto's where I want to go?
I'm gonna keep that to myself.
Yeah, okay. I honestly,
I don't want nobody to be mad. The fans already getting over me and everything.
No, it's okay. It's totally fair. To me, it's interesting because, like you say, there are so many people that would want to add your skill set and that, like you say, respect what you've done in the league and that know you're not done. And that must have been the interesting part of those conversations. No, is when people would reach out and they had legitimate interest in you, and you start, I would imagine, putting yourself on that roster and with that coaching staff and in that training facility and thinking about, like, I laughed when I saw Solly signing in Ottawa and he walks into the locker room and he's like, shit, they got a jacuzzi in the back here. And it's like, oh yeah, he's never seen those facilities before. Exactly. Like probably even before he signed, it's like the human part of that is amazing to me.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely a different process for me. Like you said, I had to definitely evaluate every situation. And if you think about it, if you go back to it, I didn't sign right away. I let everybody else sign and get their situation right because I didn't want to just go into some situation and be in a situation I didn't want to be in. I wanted to go somewhere, obviously, to compete. The only thing I got to prove is win the Grey Cup. So I just want to go compete for a Grey Cup and then obviously, be comfortable. Obviously, I'm a person I don't like change much. Obviously, this change is necessary, right? But obviously, if I can make the change a little bit smoother, I will. And obviously, Toronto is kind of close. I know the area. And then, to be honest, what's really solidified everything was the Pinball Clemens relationship. I have a dope relationship with him, and he just made it so. He just made it right. He just made it comfortable for me to do it. He walked me through the situation and kept everything smooth for me.
And that's smart the way you did it, because I mean, you look at all these 1-year contracts, right, and if you go and you sign right away, and you're thinking, "Yep, this is where I want to be. These guys are a Grey Cup contender," and then all of a sudden, everybody that's a free agent or pending free agent leaves. You're like, "Whoa, now we have a brand new team." So that's kind of a good way to look at it. But it is truly amazing how much a relationship with one person can really change how you feel about an organization, right? You talk about Pinball Clemens. I know, me and you with a guy like, when you see those special type of guys step into the league, it's pretty impressive, and you can see why people would want to play for those type of guys, right? And is that kind of, you got the same feeling from Pinball as you did from O, or what's the difference between those two?
I mean, they differ in ways, the way they go about their ways. But man, if you ever talk to Pinball Clemens, man, he's very inspirational. He makes you want to just get up and play for him right now. He's very encouraging, and just the way he talks, we're a very smooth talker. And obviously, if you think about it, I mean, we had similar games, right? He was a returner, growing up. So, and I'll be honest with you, over the years, man, I've had his number since I came in the league, and he always texts me. I always had a relationship with him. And then I remember the year I won MOP, we had dinner. I mean, he just always reached out to me, and every time we played Toronto, he's on the sideline. He always make it his, go out his way to speak to me. So I always had a great relationship with him. And then when we got to this point and the opportunity of me going to Toronto, like I said, the way he called and told me this how we're gonna go about things, and like I said, he made it so smooth for me and made me feel so comfortable to go to Toronto. It was just so awesome for me.
That's awesome, man. And I mean, so now we got to figure out if he's going to let little Brandon in there to
right,
to kick and tee in and out of there, right?
So before I sign, me, I got some little stipulations about myself. I'm like, hey man, I got a son that comes up there during the summer. He's gonna be around, and he let me know that they're very family oriented and things like that, and more welcoming and things like that. So that makes me more comfortable as well.
Are you preparing him for, Labor Day and when Hamilton comes into town, if he's doing the team stuff? Because I'm sure if you're getting it.
To be honest, I might not even let little Brandon go to the game. It might be safer for him to watch it at home.
Yeah, he'll have too many games anyway. He'll be in Atlantic City getting out of there.
Right.
But yeah, I can imagine that'd be funny. Just him getting it just as bad as you are running out there.
Exactly.
Now I'm just imagining this double blue jersey with little Speedy on the back, and everybody going, "What the
hold on."
To be honest, he's still trying to figure it out. He's like, "Daddy, you really go for Toronto?" Like he's still trying to figure it out himself. He's like, "Oh, he think it's so weird." So he got to get used to it, as well as myself. Like I haven't even put a jersey on or nothing yet, so it's gonna be so weird. But man, it is what it is, and I can't wait for it because it's gonna be dope for a change for me, right?
You talked about waiting things out a little bit in the free agency period and finding the right fit and all of that. Was there ever a point where, because I don't know how closely you followed or how much you talked with your agent otherwise about kind of the landscape of the CFL when you're in these contract negotiations, but was there ever a point where you were looking at Kenny Lawler's number and the offer sheet that was out from BC, and then Edmonton matching it, beating it, and then Duke getting his money in Saskatchewan? Were you looking at it and being like, "Sheesh, what is going on? What is going on with the receiver money right now?"
Man, I kept saying, "Dang, I wish it was the MOP year that I had." How was my MOP year?
Yeah.
I was like, man, the COVID messed up my big money year.
Damn, you're so right about that, man.
But to be honest, I think it's dope, man, because obviously it's going to attract more guys like Kenny Lawler and Duke Williams. Them guys like big time playmakers to the CFL. I think that's what we need. Obviously, to be honest, I'll be talking to guys in the South, and that's what hold a lot of guys back. I'm gonna be completely honest. It's just a money issue. Guys got to transfer their money back to U.S. dollars, and it sucks. And you got to pay taxes and things like that, and it sucks. But I'm happy for them guys. I think the salary cap, I think, should go up a little bit. Obviously, the game got to grow, and it's a lot of things that tie into making the salary cap go. But I'm happy for them guys. I think everybody, I don't think nobody make enough money but the quarterbacks, to be honest. But I don't think nobody make enough money for the things that we go out there and do, man, to put our body in them situations and things like that. So I'm happy for anybody to get paid.
And I've always said that you see the American guys that come up here and play and what they got to go through. You know what I mean? Crossing the border, putting the money back through the exchange rate. I mean, you got to love football coming up here because trying to talk to people up here and being like, wait, rookie minimum is what? And what is that in American? Like, I hope everybody gets paid $1 million a year to play. You know what I mean?
It's definitely tough, and that's why I'll be giving kudos to guys that actually come up here and stick it out. I mean, it's tough. Like you said, you got to love football to come up here. You got to leave a whole nother country and play football for not as much money. But if you love football, I think if you get to your second contract, you'll be okay, and you can make a good obviously career like I did myself for yourself in Canadian football.
Yeah, man. Well, listen. I can't wait to see you go for another MOP season. You know what I mean? In the double blue. I can't wait to see it. You're just going to be your healthy self. There's nothing that's going to change, and no one's going to be surprised. You know what I mean? So I want to thank you for coming on. This has been awesome, man. I appreciate your time. Yeah, I know you're going to go be, super dad and running around the country to watch little Brandon play a bunch of sports. But you're welcome on anytime you want. If you want to talk about some stuff, come hit me up and we can get on here and.
No, thanks for having me. It's dope, man. I'm dope. This I don't do too many interviews, but this is a safe place for me. I always got much love and respect for Daly, man. And also you too, Marsh. You too, man. I ain't forgetting you.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. I know it was. I messaged you when things were getting quiet, and I saw on your Twitter. I think it was a couple days in the free agency. You tweeted when it rains, it pours, and I was like, oh shit. I'm like, you better be getting offers. I'm like, this better not be one of those things. And so I'm really happy for you, just like Mike was saying, man, to be able to find a home and find a fit. And it was so much fun covering you in Hamilton when I was doing radio and there every day. It's the most electric player I'll probably ever cover, Speedy. Like for real. Like I don't think there'll be another like that in the league in a long time. If it took from Gizmo until you essentially, you put Rocket and some other guys in there, but I mean, it's essentially you being in that spot. And yeah, so I think you're going to feel the love this year, and it doesn't really matter where you're playing. I think people are just happy to have you in the league, and I hope you get a chance to enjoy that, man, because that's really rare.
All right, thank you, man. I definitely appreciate it, man. I definitely enjoyed our times, man. Definitely appreciate you guys for having me.
Fun catching up with Speedy B. Did not realize he went into the playoffs knowing that he was probably not going to go back. It sounded like there might have been something specific that gave him that feeling, but the idea of going through a playoff run, trying to win a Grey Cup for the only team you've ever known in the Canadian Football League, for the city that you love, knowing that you're probably not going to come back. I don't think that's tough. I don't think that would hurt his motivation because I know the caliber of the player and how much he cares about the game and the team, obviously, Mike, that you were on. But damn, that's not an easy thing to be sitting at home for a couple of minutes before big playoff games and be like, is this my last game ever playing for this team? And obviously he kind of felt like he knew it going into the Grey Cup. So that's a tough mentality to overcome.
Yeah. And I mean, it just goes to show his professionalism, right? I mean, to be able to come out there and play really well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And be able to step up and, like you was saying before, like what people don't realize is the amount of pain he was playing through. I mean, you could see it in practice. You could see it, in the training room, all that kind of stuff. So for him to be able to, put everything that he had aside, and it's not fun playing with, rib stuff like he had or any sort of midsection. Like it's hard to breathe. It's hard to do anything, let alone go and play football. So for him to be able to put all that aside and, play really, really well, it's just a testament to him. And, I'm excited to see what's next for him because, I know what he's capable of and, what kind of people are expecting from him. And it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch him.
No doubt. And the other one that was interesting to me, and that is, you were saying, oh, I want you to go have an MOP season and people are going to doubt you. And I'm so curious what that Argonauts offense is going to look like because we didn't really get into his fit in amongst DeVaris Daniels and Eric Rogers and some of the younger receivers that they have. But for me, it's such a bold play by the Argos deciding, you know what? McLeod Bethel-Thompson, Andrew Harris, Brandon Banks. I'm like, that three coming together as an organization. I mean, we know Vince Magri pretty well. He was a MAC guy with us that's up there now, gets the promotion even higher up with with the Argonauts, and for them to buy in on, you know what, you guys think Andrew's done? Let's see what we can get. Oh, Hamilton, you think Speedy's done? Let's see what we can get. It's a bold play because history will tell us it's either going to work out real well and everyone's going to look dumb for giving up on them, or it's not going to work out. And then all of a sudden the organization is falling because they're old and they've got to rebuild and they change over and it's a wasted year of McLeod. And there's all of this stuff that for me, it's just like, to go into an offseason saying this is what we want to do with our year. I love the boldness of it because if it pays off, man, it's going to look beautiful on them.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you take those vets like the guys you just named, especially, you know, the situation Andrew Harris came from, and you know, kind of how it ended in Winnipeg, and now with Speedy. I mean, these guys know how to play football, obviously. Like, I'm not, you know, blowing anybody's mind here, but now you give them a little of, you know, a chip on their shoulder, kind of like, oh, well, I have to reprove myself. Is that what's going on? And when you have vets like that know how to play this game, that have done it before, I mean, it gets kind of scary, because now instead of just them being these all-stars, MOPs, you know, at that caliber, now they're playing with this chip on their shoulder, and I'm proving myself again, and people are doubting me. I mean, when you get up to that age, that's a scary thing to watch. I think it's going to be fun because, you know, like I said, these guys know how to play football, and you know, there's something to be said with experience. You can, you know, Speedy will be able to get open, even if people are going to say he's not as fast. Believe me, he's still fast.
Yeah.
Right. He's going to be able to get open even more now because of the experience that he has, and now with this chip, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting watching these guys.
I really hope he scores a touchdown on Labor Day, not just to cause chaos, but because think of the amazing interactions that would be happening in the stands. Like think of how many Ticats fans would be going, no, like just hands on their head. We should, like, one touchdown does not a decision make, but I would love to see hands on the head freaking out and Argos fans pointing and laughing, and then Ticats fans turning around and going, yeah, but we did that to you for like 10 years with him. And like, it would create this amazing dynamic in the stands where people would be just so interwoven with one another that are fans of those two franchises.
Well, and you even said it too, right? Like, you know, he leaves to go to Toronto, and when every Hamilton fan would be upset that somebody's going to play in the double blue, they actually like Speedy so much that I think when it's Labor Day and it's those games in Hamilton and Toronto, he's going to be the only player on that field that everybody in the stands is going to be like, I kind of like this guy. You know what I mean? So he'll be the fan favorite on that field every time those two teams play. And you know, it's just like I said, it's when you have the kind of career he does and how much, you know, he was interacting with the fans. Like I said, even on the social media stuff, you know what I mean? I joked around with him that he's, you know, getting after these people, but he's also super nice to every fan that he can come across on social media. So it definitely doesn't affect him, and it's funny to watch, but the fans love him, and I think he's going to be a fan favorite, either Toronto, Hamilton, wherever he is.
Yeah, absolutely. At Daily News 8 is where you can find Mike again on social. At CF Perspective, I'm at TSN_Marsh. Coming up for you next week, we are going to have a full look at all things CFL Combine, which Mike has great experience with, being on the inside, and I pretend to study, and then they throw me on a camera and say, go. Talk about every player from every place. And I'm like, I had somebody DM me the other day that said, what do you think of Zach Herzog out of Hillsdale? This is a great example. I said, who is that? And then I showed up at the Ontario Regional Combine. And this is the thing. People don't realize I'm so entrenched in the CFL season all year long that I don't have the ability to watch all the U Sports games and to know all of the prospects coming up. And I would love to. I hope I can get there at some point where I can be more efficient with my time and find a way. But this is the time of year where it's like a month or two of just downloading, just as much as humanly possible. But downloading on guys like Mike Daly was a lot of fun back in 2013, 2014, being able to see you go through that process. So we'll talk about that. For now, thanks for listening. Thanks to Brandon Banks for being on with us. And we will talk to you coming up next week right here on the Daily News.